Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. I got sunburn, so that's fun.
Oh yeah, it's been quite warm, isn't it?
Wow,
It's
it's
too
just
bad.
sunny. Being back in the lovely land of Calgary, it's just always sunny. And
Yeah, it's
Vancouver is
always
always cloudy and slightly rainy. Here, it's always sunny, even if it's raining, even if it's snowing, a good
it's always
small chunk
sunny
of
in
the time.
Calgary.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. Welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, our spoiler review of episode 6, Attack of the Clothes. So let's talk a little bit about it before we get into our synopsis. So the our predictions of this, I think I had literally just said sentient clothes that would take over and all that stuff. Wasn't the case.
Wrong.
However, it was about a lot of clothes doing a lot of things or whatever. So, and I think we had also talked about fashion war. It did have fashion. It was
I
like
th- I,
a
I
precursor.
personally feel like this entire episode was fixed. Oh no, what's the word I'm looking for here? Crap. It was made around Cara Delevingne. Like she was the focal point of this whole entire thing. I think she's a fan of Futurama, and
Maybe.
Futurama people are like, yeah, okay, we like you too. You're
Yeah.
cool.
Like, what do you? Oh,
And
you're a model. Oh, we should do an
yeah,
episode about fashion. Oh, we've never done a
they
fashion
they
episode
tailored
before. Yeah.
the whole entire episode for
Uh,
Cara Delevingne, and
well done.
it was just out of place. And and
Yeah.
the fact that she was in it from like minute 2 and like was there till the very end was just like,
Yeah. Well,
okay.
well, let me do our synopsis here, then we'll get into our positives and negatives and all this stuff. So let's see. So this episode starts off with uh, the crew. Sorry, it's just so ridiculous. So the crew is sitting watching TV, and the tower is turned, like the tower that they're part of, that's part of the Planet Express headquarters, is turned into a giant sewing machine. So the professor is doing something for the what are they called? Like the invention, the inventors society, basically,
Yeah,
which we've seen in
which
the
I liked.
past. Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that
It was
was a
nice to
good
have
thing,
that come
getting
back.
back to roots, making the professor
Yes.
an inventor. He had the foot longer in this one,
Yeah,
the
this stuff
toe
was a foot
longer.
longer. Like, there
So
you go. You have
it's starting off
that.
not too
Yep.
bad. I liked it. It's a
Yep.
good start. And I will say that for the first 5 to 10 minutes,
Few
no,
minutes of
5
this,
minutes.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we see
definitely a
like a
good
little bit of
start.
this, and it turns out that the professor he's invented a giant sewing machine, and he's doing this in order to put together a bunch of body parts. He's basically becoming Dr. Frankenstein, and he's going to bring back a living body, or sorry, he's going to bring back a person from like a bunch of dead body parts into a living person, and he does so. But then they need a head, so they end up going to the head museum. They pass by like the president's heads, all this stuff. They end up finding the model area, and they find Cara Delevingne, and who's
Her
a
head.
prominent, yeah, her head rather, who's a prominent voice actress for the episode or whatever. So they bring her in, and she's part of the head of this monster thing, that the Frankenstein monster that the professor creates. He goes to the science convention, or the science inventor convention, whatever it's called. He doesn't win for whatever reason, but then it turns out that he needs to make clothing for Cara Delevingne's monster
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah.
So
Made
he
with moths and like
moth
weird alien
silk,
moths. And yeah,
silk, yeah,
the cocoon like turns inside out and becomes
yes,
the
the
clothes
clothing.
thing, which
So
it's a cool idea. I like it. It's not like,
yeah,
oh hey,
very
this
Futurama.
specific type of
Yeah,
silk coming from these that just magically wrap around. I like that idea. Again, strong start in my opinion.
it was more Futurama-esque, wasn't it? It had a
Yes,
little
yes.
bit. So
This episode felt very Futurami. A lot of Futurami jokes and stuff like that. Everyone had a small
yeah,
little
little spark
joke
there. Yep,
somewhere like that, which is
yep,
great. Everyone got to be everyone,
yep,
even if they were pushed to the background.
yep. So basically, yeah, we finish, or we continue on with them getting getting Cara Delevingne to go in with this moth thing. And it turns out, even though we've never heard this before, these are all kind of made for the episode, and this is standalone, we'll never see this again. The professor's like, originally his main dream is to always become a scientist. It turns out he didn't want to become a scientist before. He wanted to be a fashion designer, so he
Which
becomes
came out of
the
nowhere. Yeah.
professor. Like this guy, I mean, kudos to him, because he's like 190 years old at this point. But he's been like a race car driver, a scientist, a package delivery company owner, a fashion like icon, like all these things.
No, yeah.
So the professor, Herbert von Farnsworth or
Bar.
something, however they pronounce it, Herbert Farnsworth or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, he
Fernsworth.
becomes this
Yeah.
big thing using his the moth silk made clothing that just kind of can basically atone for everybody's body type and size and make them have
But
like a
it takes
really,
a
really nice
while.
fashion. It takes like a week or whatever to do so. And the clothing kind of goes away very, very quickly because it just kind of falls apart. It's very, very cheap or whatever. In any case, to deal with this, everybody kind of gets rid of it very, very quickly, and the professor throws it into this dumpster thing, which we'll get into in our part of our review there.
Oh yeah.
And the dumpster takes us into like this portal that takes us to somewhere in random time, but we don't really know much about this. In the meantime, they're still picking up on Zoidberg being, poor and, not very attractive with anything. So he's like, he decides he wants to get some of these in on these clothes and everything. And the professor makes him one for this. And he's able to do this, and Zoidberg's having a great time. He now looks great, and everybody looks great. Cara Delevingne takes kind of like a liking to Zoidberg as well. They kind of become friendly in this episode a little bit. But he gets rid of these white pants, throws them through this trash can teleporter thing or whatever dimension hopping thing. And he wishes he had them back, so they decide to take a trip, not Farnsworth, but the rest of them go into this place. They find the planet where all the clothes are. They have a bit of a monster. Get away from a monster thing on this planet thing.
Well, because of the professor being a fashion icon right now, it plays upon that whole thing that he has to have like these exotic pets and stuff like that. He had an exotic white mammoth and like a whole bunch white cat, and those also he would also throw those out every day with the clothes because the clothes are like one day use.
Right, so there's those animals. There's also the moths and like the caterpillars of the clothes.
Giant caterpillar larvae and moths. Yeah.
Right, they're all on this like quote unquote planet that exists there. So in any case, somewhere on this planet, they go and they find his pants, but Cara Delevingne gets left behind, and they return to Earth, and they find out that the ship had traveled to Earth again in the future, which is where the pants or all the clothes were being sent to. And the episode finishes off with the teleporter in the air coming out, and all the clothes are coming to Earth, thus creating this. And this is literally the time period in which this happens, and that's where it ends. And there's like a bit of other things with like side people, fashion statements and walkway runners and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, that's the basic synopsis of the episode. Again, we're left with a completely unresolved ending that honestly actually is probably the worst out of it for the ending terms.
Yeah. Like I remember watching it, and I'm getting close. I'm like, let's see. I'm like, this has been a long episode, so like, I check and say, oh, like there's only like 2 minutes left. What the hell are they gonna do? How's this gonna resolve? And then they go to like because at that second, like within the last 2 minutes, or something like that, like, where could these clothes be going? I guess we'll never know. Oh no, now we find out where it's coming from. It's us. And so
and then it opens.
Like, like you and I think in our synopsis, like our predictions was like, oh, it's going to be like Attack of the Clones kind of thing, right? Where the clones will attack people and stuff like that, which wasn't the case. But then they kind of ended it also with it being like Planet of the Apes, which is like, what?
Yeah, she even makes that reference with the Statue of Liberty, right? Yeah. It's so like out of all the episodes, like whether or not we liked them or didn't like these episodes in the past, we can kind of chalk it up to being like, okay, yeah, One Amigo, Beauty and the Bug, Quid's Game, like all the Temp, all these ones, like even though maybe they don't have a lot of resolution at the end, you can kind of like chalk it up to be like, okay, we can kind of figure out what it is. Like even what was the one what was the last one? One is silicon, the other gold. Like even that one, you could probably assume that Leela like just ignored the chat bot afterwards, right? Like you don't need to see it happen. But this is like earth-shattering. Like there's civilization. The planet is destroyed because of clothes. Like that's what it's led to believe. So are we just going to see clothes raining from the sky for like the rest of the season? Is that what's going to happen? No, obviously not. Are we even going to be in the same Futurama universe anymore? No, probably not. Like it's not even going to be talked about. It's so weird for them to finish on this. I don't know why they do this. Yeah.
Is it, because this season and last season, a lot of it has been like remember this episode? Well, here's something to do with that episode. Remember this one? They were kind of continuations or like very heavily like,
thing longer?
Hey, remember, a little more like remember this episode? Well, we're gonna do something that's like it but worse. My opinion. Do you think they're leaving these open ended so that way, because they got renewed for another season somehow? I'm sorry to say that somehow.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna have like the same idiot writers be like, oh, we'll just continue my episode that was so awesome and well loved from last scene, or do you think they're just gonna leave it open ended and be like, yeah, well, we didn't have an ending, so here you go, boom. Here's a sandwich that has just crust. It's just crust.
It's not even a sandwich. Honestly, no.
A little bit of meat.
That's the issue. I would be okay with them being like, no, we're leaving it open ended because we're going to tackle this in the future. I would be fine with that because that's what a good story would do.
They never really did that though with the other stuff. They never had like a part 1, part 2. They kind of like
Futurama was always
here's
finished.
a story.
Yeah.
And yes, like, one of our favorites I think is I can't remember which one it was.
finishes.
Well, just another one where the worm one where Fry starts to play the holophoner at the end there, but he sucks, but he gets better at it, right? And they use that.
You show him practicing.
Yes, you show him practicing
the episode to kind of give that little.
Yes, and like mind you, it is open ended, yes, but the thing is that episode was resolved. The whole thing was that Fry got the worms made him awesome. Leela like, was it you were the worms? Oh, it was the worms that made you awesome, but you still had those feelings, but you aren't as awesome as you were with the worms. Okay, well I will try to be as awesome as I was with the worms with the holophone.
Fry tries to become the guy that she liked while he was with worms, and that is like a character arc and growth, and that finishes that storyline. Yeah,
and exactly. they picked that storyline up with him in the holophoner in the last season episode of the Fox run, right? Exactly. Which was an amazing episode. I think we all agree that was probably one of the best episodes ever. So that was how you pick it up and continue it, because that whole episode already had an end. That him and Leela couldn't be together because of him being stupid. And
or she just wanting perfection.
You can't just go, oh, here comes a whole apocalypse. Bye, guys. That was a good episode. Bye. It just like like I think I was telling Anthony off screen beforehand. It's like I like the first part was very strong, like unusual, but it wasn't terrible. And I liked the jokes and stuff like that, especially with Zoidberg being like, I'm going to jump. Oh, no, Zoidberg, don't kill yourself. Oh, no, I'm just going underwater. They have lower standards down there. And that's when we see Umbriel, and she's like, no,
Umbriel came back too. Yeah. Remember
Umbriel? Yeah, exactly. It's remember this. Yep. And then it continues to be like, not too bad. But then it kind of just like ended on a very low note for me. Like I overall, I did like this episode, but it did not end well for me. Like there had jokes, but because it came out of left field that this was 90% about Cara Delevingne and fashion, I was just like, okay, I'll just take it and run with it. Whatever. This is fine. But it was strange.
It was a very again, and so I think that's kind of the thing. If I go into my positives, I agree with you that the episode kind of starts off like, oh, okay, this could be good.
Yep. We see Wernstrom again, but there's not that hate between the two, which is annoying. They should have played off of that a little more, because all we got was Wernstrom.
They didn't even say anything to each other this time.
No,
right?
No, the professor.
Then Wernstrom won by accident because it was about recycling. This is the whole reason with this. But it's like, we're gonna use the envelope from last year, and it so happens to have the same like answer or the same winner as that from that time as well. So
not only did we recycle this envelope, we recycled the winner
as well. So it's just whatever. So Wernstrom wins. It was kind of like.
I think the more I think about this, the more it becomes just like. Like I did like the jokes. The jokes were good. The characters were okay themselves. Mm-hmm. But the more I think about it, the more just it's like, I don't want to think about this episode because I wanted to have an episode where I liked, but just it's not being that way for me.
And even Bill Nye being in this, it's like whatever. He's the convention spokesperson because he's like the science guy, right? So it's like whatever.
He peaked in the 90s for us, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's not part of the episode as a whole. We'll say like even Tim Gunn has more to do with this episode than
I forgot about him.
But yeah, Tim Gunn's in this as well, and Cara, like they had a lot of like these actors all for this like fashion thing. And like again, another kind of mislabeling of a title, like Attack of the Clothes, clearly playing off Attack of the Clones. And I knew it wasn't going to be Star Wars related, but still, what attacking of what clothes?
Yeah, what's with the reference there to Planet of the Apes when it had nothing to do with it or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It was a little all over the place, but also like still not at the same time. It was focused on Cara Delevingne, but all over the place. It was, like I said, the more I think about it, the worse it gets in my mind, and I don't like that.
Well, that's exactly it. So it seems like, I mean, not to make my own pun, but like the stitching of this episode, there's all these plot lines. Look, I kid you not. Like you have.
Hey, I used Taylor earlier. You used stitching. Yeah. That's good. So 2 points for you, 4 for me. Yeah.
Nice. So we have like, the professor is going to be, the professor again. He's making science. He's making inventions. He does this whole thing. It leads into the main part of the episode. This is a classic formula for this show. That's great. And then it turns into like a fashion show about like the professor's like, I've decided I'm actually fashion person. Zoidberg is like disappointed that the he can't have it and the common people can't have it, so they make a bunch of clothes for the common people. Okay, fine. But then it turns out there's a dimension hopping garbage can thing that goes into the future, and this is where they're throwing all their clothes, and you're like, oh, okay, so now we're dimension hopping, but then there's only 2 minutes left, and it turns out, oh, that is Earth. It's such a weird plot. It doesn't really have any. It's like a whole bunch of ideas, as I said, stitched together, and it doesn't really flow.
It's a Frankenstein
very well.
of an episode. Oh, that is so smart writing. But the thing is, it's not.
Well,
it's not.
well
it's not
done.
on purpose. It's not
So
on purpose.
meta.
It's
Yeah.
not on purpose.
It's not on purpose at all, and it's like, okay,
This is the same writer who did I Know What You Did Next Christmas or Last Christmas.
Okay.
And you had issues with that episode because it was just
I have issues with no.
It was messy. It was messy.
Fine.
It was messy written.
Yeah,
right?
the concept of the episode is fine. They missed out on, first of all, they missed out on canonicity for like again, and we'll talk about this as well because that's not Marianne. We were also wrong about the. Because I talked about that beforehand.
Livid about that. Right, that was my con. That was one of my biggest cons is that wasn't Marianne.
We'll get into that in a second. But like, Marianne was also missing from like the Christmas episode. Like, oh, doesn't Zoidberg have a girlfriend now? Like he should be with her or something, but not even mentioned. So that was one thing that I didn't like about that episode. But then also the time travel aspect of it is like I thought that time travel was this, but then we're getting confirmation that time travel is not this anymore. It's now this, and I'm like, well,
it's just a
can't
repeat
have
of the
both
universe.
Ways. Right?
It's
like
the universe repeats itself over and over again.
Yeah,
it just moves up or
or
moves down slightly. Yeah.
Right. So that's my issue with the episode. Overall, I thought the plot was fine.
Yeah. And they've already explained too in the Pauly Shore episode that time is not cyclical.
Right.
If you go back in the past and
at
change
least
something,
Fry
it
says
changes
that,
it.
right? Yeah. He's like, no, straight line. Right?
But he's so stupid. So he would just be saying that from someone who knows, like the professor.
Maybe. Yeah.
Again, there's a little bit of headcanon there.
They did go through time, and then even the professor does say, like, when they go the third time around, and he's like, okay,
just gonna roll down the window and shoot Hitler. Oh crap! I got Eleanor Roosevelt. So like it changes. The things that you do in the past can change the future.
Right.
So
it's not the same universe. It just happens to start the same way. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not the episode we're talking about. But yes.
No, but it's same writer. Same writer that was just messy writing. Like again, the characters were written well. The characters were themselves, and it started off strong, and then it just kind of lost its footing.
It's like it didn't have an actual storyline, and then it finishes off like with the worst, like no resolution whatsoever. Like this is the worst part of the resolution I've ever seen.
I would think this is the second worst one in my opinion. I really did not like the one with Fry's birthday.
Oh, the quiz
that
game
one in my opinion is the worst one because it's the whole thing of the mother
they
thinks she's doing great.
His parents as well.
Yeah, it ruins his relationship with his parents. That one's the worst one in my opinion. This one is a terrible one as well.
World breaking. This one's more world. Like if they don't go the next episode, if we don't see anything to do with clothes, I'm like, okay, so you could have skipped that last one. Whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. So anyway,
okay,
let's move on then into. Sorry, you did.
Basically, what would we change? What would we change? We just wouldn't have it transfer to Earth. Basically, that would be our biggest change we would do.
I think that's a big thing for this. If we want to keep most of the jokes with it, like the fashion thing is fine.
Make it the moon.
Even then, it's like because it's the future of the moon. Like, why are the clothes? Like, what's going to happen with the moon now with the clothes? I would say just make it on a distant planet that could be relevant to something else.
That's what I thought it was when I first saw it. I thought it was the book planet.
Right, because they're reusing the planet that they themselves created in this season. Yeah. They could have reused it again. Oh yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Okay.
Oh, and then
here's a question for you.
I got clothes now.
Here's a question for you because I think it's episode 9 this season. We have like the library episode, which is an anthology. Do you think that could pick up these ones that are very open ended and close
Not
it?
At all.
Too smart for them. The idea is too smart.
If you want to call it that, I think they didn't even consider it. I think they have 3 other things. I don't even think it's smart or intelligent or dumb. I think they just didn't even think about it. Okay, well, why don't we get into the more negatives? So, okay, I heard my negative. I think the ending is also open. It's too open again. There's no resolution. Whatever. Yeah. This has been a problem this season. Actually, the Hulu run for a while now. Overall, characters are fine most of the time. The plot's all over the place. I definitely would have streamlined that. Maybe take out we throw the clothes away into a dumpster. Like if anything, they should have made the moths an issue.
Yeah,
the moths are just flying around. Like, oh, that could have been the clothes. Like they could have been like creating too much of. I don't know. Like it
or
seems like he could have done
mind
something with the
control or
monks.
something like that.
Yeah, like they could have had a hive mind and like, oh, like you wanted clothes and now you don't want our clothes anymore. Like, what's that about? And then the professor could have been like, okay, now I have to bring back the science professor, and he has to find a way to do like.
Yeah, he flip
Anyway,
flops. Yeah.
any case, your negative. So you want to talk about Marianne? So yeah,
Well, okay, so
thought this was
that's my
great.
biggest one, but I'll just say that I'm not a guy who's into fashion whatsoever. I love a t-shirt and cargo shorts. That's mainly what I wear for the most part of the year, with a hoodie if it's slightly cold out, and then
you're a shorts and
pants
t-shirt
when
kind of guy.
once it gets cold. That's really about it. So I don't care about fashion crap like this. Obviously, Cara Delevingne was a huge influence, and they tailored this episode for her, so it was just very fashionable, and I don't care. But it was funny to see the professor dress up and have a ponytail stabbed into the back of his head. That was funny.
Yeah. It's
It's
not an alternate universe professor.
The ending obviously was not professor awesome, but the ending obviously, and then this whole thing with Zoidberg and Marianne, like I don't like. It would have been nice to be like said like at least even last season with the Christmas episodes, like I don't have anyone to be with since Marianne and I broke up, or something like that.
Just a one line.
Like,
yep.
One of the reasons why you and I love Futurama so much, especially the original run and the second run, is that they kept canon. They kept it. What's the word I'm looking for? Continuity.
The
canon continuity
really
of it was all pretty well in. There might be little things here and there, but they were kind of like, oh, I thought you didn't have a dog. I thought it was a hamster. No, it was a dog. Oh, like they could kind of like, Bender said something stupid or whatever, right? They could do that. Yeah. But the continuity of the new stuff, this season and last season, has been almost non-existent. Like basically the writers are going like, that was the old Futurama. This is the new Futurama, and I'm part of it, so therefore it's better, and my word is now the real thing. And they have done stuff like that. Or I can
do what I want with this kind of character or whatever. Yeah.
And like they have changed things and stuff like that, but just it's bad. Where's Marianne? I loved her, and obviously maybe they couldn't get Amelia Clark or something like that, so they had Cara Delevingne instead.
But you can recast.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got Cara Delevingne, for God's sakes. Like if you can get Cara Delevingne, she's also worth a lot of money. You could probably get Amelia Clark to come back again, but it doesn't matter. Point is, we saw this on there, like Zoidberg, dancing with this pretty blonde girl, and their whole thing is like, oh, this looks like it could be part of an actual episode. It turns out it's a montage. It's a montage of everybody getting their favorite clothes, and then like somehow Zoidberg has game enough to bring a pretty girl like that back to a dumpster. Like it's very strange.
Oh, they did a couple like little remember berries with the montage, because we saw from the Leela Gabba Yo Gabba Gabba with the
Inagata de Leela, aliens? Like the second episode of the
little aliens where she went on the planet Real Stories.
Oh, that's what that was.
We saw the cupcake. Right, yeah. We saw the cupcake of her.
Yeah, she wanted to be part of Farnsworth's group. Yeah, that's right.
A lot of it was just like, hey, look at the stuff that was good now. Mm-hmm. It wasn't my favorite. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah, though it's funny, like as
it's still a better one.
This, so you said that like before we talked about this, you're like, oh, I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay, and like maybe there's a bit of humor to it. But then like the more we talk about it, you're like, right.
Story wise, it's terrible. Story wise, it's not very good. But the characters at the beginning, the characters throughout it were very good, and the beginning was awesome. I did like that, and the jokes were funny. The person who Ariel, I think her name is the writer, she did a good job on the jokes. I'm not trying to diss her on the jokes.
Yeah, some of the jokes
it's just the episode idea itself. I feel like she was. She didn't have much creativity room because of the whole fashion thing, I think. So.
Oh, okay. Not a lot of
pigeonholed. No, that's not the word.
Not pigeonholed, but like she was not like she didn't have a lot of creative freedom because she was having to work around just the fashion.
For all I know, it could have been her idea too, to do like, oh, I love Cara Delevingne, because apparently I just looked this up on IMDb. Cara Delevingne has been in 4 episodes of Futurama, and this is her latest one. So she played an owl. The season 11 in 2 episodes, and then an owl in The Temp. She did Who. That was her voice role for 3 episodes.
Does that count as really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then she had her own head in this one. So it's just she's a fan, and she tried to get on the show somehow, and someone obviously said like, yeah, Cara Delevingne, she's awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't want to overthink it too much, but she somehow got in the episode, and it got revolved around her.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Like I said, like the story for this is not very well thought out, but I did like the episode. As confusing as that might sound, but like So out of 10, Anthony, what would you rate this episode?
5.5.
You know what? As much as like we were discussing how terrible it is and stuff, and yes, I agree with that stuff. I was still going to give it a 6.5 because it's
6.5. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny actually. You and I we switched from like because I liked the previous one more because at least it made me laugh. This one,
Oh, yeah.
again, like I didn't really laugh as much, and it like some elements of it, but it is a lot of like those member berries. It's a lot of
Yeah.
those like, oh hey, like we're gonna do this now, and just jumping around everywhere. It's like, oh, we have this, and
You did a good job of saying
maybe
they stitched it together from other ideas and stuff.
yeah, and maybe there's a little bit of that disappointment where, I thought maybe that scene, because we saw this in the trailer with like the ship going into the garbage can. I
Yeah.
was like,
We
oh
didn't
my
look where
God,
it
they're
was
gonna
going
go
into.
back.
I think that's one of the things. We didn't look
Yeah.
see if it was a box or not. We didn't frame by frame it like some
But
other
it didn't
people
have to be
do.
a box. It could have just been another version of the box, so to speak, right? Like
Yes,
another way to get to
agreed,
the parallel
agreed.
universe. But again, that's more on me. That's not really part of the episode because that's not fair to the episode. You can't make
No,
everything in my head, right? But
no,
even then, like it doesn't hit anything. Like I don't care much for fashion either. So
no,
having
God,
all
no.
this stuff, I'm just like, whatever. Cara Delevingne is fine. It's okay. She makes a few jokes. Yeah, it's there. So I don't know. And you put this one at 6.5, eh? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'd say it's Futurama-esque, but it's odd and a little subpar with things. But the story is definitely
And even with the
like a
ending,
C minus.
even
Yeah,
with the ending.
yeah. I'm not gonna knock them because those whole that's kind of been the theme for this season is just
Mm.
like unresolved endings. Out
It's
of
not
all
really
the
a good
unresolved
thing.
endings, this one doesn't bother me that much compared to other
Yeah.
ones.
I mean,
But
I would say this is more world shattering than like the fact
oh,
that Mamazon basically owns the entire world or the entire universe now,
universe and
right?
beyond and
Right, but
beyond.
they never talk about it,
Well, it
right?
doesn't matter because
So,
it's like they can't. It expanded so quickly that they couldn't
right,
catch up to it, so it doesn't matter.
right.
So
But this one
it's just
does.
there.
So this is worse,
Yes, yes,
right?
100% more. It's more effective to the thing. Which,
Yeah.
if they never touch on it again, it makes it worse. Yes, but like I said, I like the theme of this season has been unresolved endings. So
You know what though? If the library episode turns out to be like all those unfinished tales all throughout the season, now we're gonna finish them. It's like, wow,
a gigantic
what a
brain saying this too.
cliffhanger.
I want that to
Oh
be the
jeez.
gigantic brain. Yeah.
And yeah, it's a gigantic brain. He's like, I've written all these episodes. Now you have the ending. We'll see. But
Again,
okay,
that'd
well,
be too smart for them.
that's true. That's true. Well, hopefully then, because we know what the next episode's going to be with
Planet
episode
Espresso.
7, Planet Espresso, when they find out the 5,000-year-old tale of coffee or whatever
I
based
saw
on that
the
guy.
Hermes inherits a Jamaican coffee farm that holds the ruins of an ancient spaceship.
There you go.
So it's a
5,000-year-old
Hermes-centric
coffee.
episode, hopefully.
Yeah. There you go. All right. We'll have to find out. And that's Planet Espresso for the next one. So, yeah, thanks again, Mitchell, for joining me. And we'll talk
And
to you
thank you,
next
listeners,
time.
for hearing us ramble on and on and on and on about the ending that didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, at least you get an ending.
Yeah, with us. Yeah. We liked it, but not that much.
Cool. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.